welcome back again to another interesting tutorial. So in today's video I'm going to be showing us how to create a pattern for a shirt. Okay, so I have this handout here. Like I said in my previous video, if you want one of these handouts, you can send me a message on 08057704020. So I'm going to be using this handout. So here's the shirt block, the front and the back block, and here's the shirt sleeve, the collar, shirt collar, and the cuff. I already have a video where I showed how to create a shirt collar, okay, so you can check that out as well. So the first thing you want to do is to leave a space of 3 inches at the top of your pattern. So I'm going to be marking that right there, and you rule a straight line across that. Okay, so now the next thing you need to do as well is to also create a space of 2 inches. Okay, this totally depends on you, depends on how bold you want your button stand to be. Okay, depends on the kind of fitting you want of your button. You can use 3 inches, depends on the kind of button stand, the kind of fitting you want for your button stand rather. So I'm going to mark that all the way to the hem of my shirt. Okay, so now I'll just label this part button stand. Okay, so as we proceed with this tutorial, you are going to find out the reason why I left 3 inches at the top of my pattern paper. So the next thing I want to do, from this 3 inches line, I'm going to be looking for the length of my shirt. Okay, the length of my shirt is 25 inches. I'm going to mark that around there. My shirt length is 25 inches, guys. So I'll take a straight ruler and I'll rule that out. Okay, so now that I've squared out all of my pattern pieces, this is my length, and I left 3 inches up there, and this part is my button stand. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to be doing, I'm going to start marking my shoulder measurement. Okay, so because it's a shirt, I'm going to be extending my shoulder with 0.5 inches. Okay, so my shoulder is 16, half of 16 is 8 plus 0.5, so I'm going to be marking 0.5 inches, 8.5 inches around here. So I mark 8.5 inches. I'm also going to be dropping my bust line by 0.5. Usually my bust line is also 8 inches, and I'm going to be adding 0.5 inches to that, and I'm going to mark that around here. So I'm marking 9.5 because of 1 inch for my shoulder slope. So I'll rule a straight line across that. And I'll match that up. So this is my bust line. So, and when you are making a shirt, your shirt neckline should not exceed 3 inches. Okay, so I'm going to be taking 3 inches by 2.5 inches. My neck wideness is 3 inches and the depth is 2.5 inches. It stays that way, guys. It's perfect because you want your shirt collar to stay at your collarbone. Okay, so don't allow your measurement to exceed 3 inches, 2.5 inches. Okay, I use the wideness of 3 inches and the depth of 2.5. That's exactly what I've used now. So I'll mark that out. Then I'm going to be taking out my shoulder slope of 1 inch. Okay, I'll take out my shoulder slope of 1 inch, then I'll use my ruler to connect that, like so. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is to bring out my waistline, which is my natural waist, like some of you like to call it half length. Okay, mine is 16 inches, so I'm going to be marking 16 inches around here. Okay, then I'll rule a straight line across that. Good. So I'm going to be calling here my waistline, and here is my length. Okay guys, so now after bringing out all of my horizontal lines, the next thing I want to do is to start imputing my body measurement. So you are going to start imputing quarter of your measurement. So I'm going to explain something to us here guys. Because it's a shirt and you know there's a button in front of your shirt, so it's a must that you add ease to your body measurement. I'm going to start imputing my body measurement. So I'll just write out the measurement that we're working with today. We're working with bust 40, waist 34, then hip 46. Okay, that's the measurement we are working with today. Shoulder 16, bust line 8. So now I'm going to start imputing my measurements, but this is where I'm going to explain to you how to make your shirt successful. Because it's a button down shirt, you need to add ease to your measurement. You see some shirts, they are really fitted, while some are a little bit loose. So it all depends on the kind of shirt that you are trying to create. But even if you are trying to create a fitted shirt that is going to also snuggle around your body, you should add a little bit of ease to your body measurement. So we are going to be using quarter of all of this measurement. Okay, so quarter of those measurements I have there. Quarter of bust 40 is 10, quarter of waist 34 is 8.5, and quarter of hip 46 is 11.5. So now I'll start with my bust line. Now that I have 10 inches as the bust measurement, I'm going to be putting 10 inches around there. Then I'm going to add my ease. Okay, I'm adding 0.5 inches ease to my bust, and I'm giving 1 inch for seam allowance. Ease is very important. You can give as much as 1 inch ease. It's totally your choice, but don't ignore ease. If you want your shirt to be a bit looser, add enough ease. But now this shirt is going to be a little bit snuggle around the body, so that's why I'm adding 0.5 inch. That is a must. You cannot do without adding ease to your shirt. So I'll come to the waistline. Waistline is 8.5 inches. Okay, except you are using some kind of shirt fabric that stretches a little bit. There are some kind of shirt fabric that are specific for shirts in the market. You can get some of those fabric, then you can decide to stick to your right measurement. They have a little amount of stretch, some of them. So if you are using such fabric, it's fine. You can do without the ease. But if you are using any type of fabric that doesn't have any kind of stretch at all, is a must you add at least 0.5 or 0.75 or 1 inch ease. Sometimes there are some shirts you even make, you can add as much as 2 inches or 1.5 inch. Depends on how loose fitting you want it to be. But today I'm just going to teach us a perfect shirt. Okay, so we are adding just 0.5 inch ease. So now that my waist is 0.5, 8.5, I'm also adding 0.5 inches ease to my waist. Then I'm now adding my 1 inch for seam allowance. So now I'll come to my hip line. Okay, my hip is 11.5, so I'm also adding 0.5 inches ease to my hip. Then I'm adding my 1 inch for seam allowance, guys. So the next thing I'm going to do is to connect all of these measurements together. So I'll just take my pattern master. I'll connect from my bust line to my waistline, and connecting to my waistline, I'll flip my pattern master to the other side. Then I'll connect it like so. Okay, so now I have my shirt pattern. So I'm going to now be drafting out my armhole line. Okay, so I'm going to look for the half of my armhole, which is 8.5. Like I said before, you should add 0.5 inches to drop your bust line. That is a perfect way to make a shirt. Okay, so half of 8.5 is 4.25, so I'll mark that around there. So I'm coming in into my armhole by 0.5 inches, so I can be able to curve my back, my front armhole. Okay, so I'm going to take my curved ruler, I'll curve that, then I'll bring it all the way up, and I'll continue curving. So now after doing that, I'm also going to now curve for my back armhole. Remember, I said in the beginning of this tutorial that I'm going to draft my front and my back together in one piece. So I'm going to now curve my back armhole. So the back armhole stays on the line. It stays on the line. Okay, the back armhole stays on the line. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is to draft out my back neckline. Okay, so it's a must that your back neckline stays 1 inch deep. Okay, now that I've used 3 inches depth for my front, I'm also going to be using 1.5. I'm also going to be using 3 inches wide for my front, for my back as well. So I'll take my ruler, I'll extend this line up. So then I'll mark my back neckline. I'll mark my back neck depth around there, so 1 inch. So I'm going to be covering it to my 3 inches. Okay, so that's 3 inches. Then I'll take my curve ruler. I'm covering out my back neckline, 1 inch depth by 3 inches wide. So I'll connect these lines together like so. So to be able to get my shoulder slope, I'm going to be following this, my front shoulder slope, 2.5 inch. I'm going to start creating that. I'll go by 2.5 inch. Okay, so my back shoulder slope, my back is higher than my front with 2.5 inches. So I'm just going along the slope to mark that out. So then I'll take my pattern master, I'll draw a line to connect that. Then I'll connect this together. So my back is actually higher than my front with 2.5 inches. Okay, 2 inches is actually fine, but the reason why I added 0.5 is because of seam allowance. So when I'm cutting on my fabric, I don't need to add any kind of seam allowance anymore. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to be doing here, I'm going to be explaining to us, just in case you want your back pattern, your back shirt to be longer than your front shirt. I'm going to be linking a picture up here so you guys can see what I'm trying to say. It's common in most of the shirts. So, and you find out that some shirts, they are always curved at the bottom, but you can leave yours straight. So I'm going to take my tape measure. I'm going to go above here and I'll go up by 2 inches. Okay, just to have a nice beautiful curve at the hem of my shirt. So I'll take my very curved ruler and I'm going to curve that to meet that 2 inches. Okay, this is very important. It makes your shirt to really look really beautiful and nice at the hem. So just in case I don't want my front and my back shirt to remain the same, I want my back shirt to be a little bit longer, which is also very, very common for a lot of shirts. So you are going to determine the distance you want between the front and the back shirt. Okay, so assuming I just want a difference of like 3.5 inches or 4 inches or 3. Okay, let me just use 3 inches. Okay, assuming I want my back shirt to be longer than my front shirt by 3 inches. Okay, you can use any measurement, depends on what you want. Okay, you are the designer, so you can design whatever you want, but for the sake of this tutorial, I'm just using 3 inches to increase the length of my back shirt. I'll be linking some pictures so that you guys can understand what I'm trying to do here. So I want the length of my back shirt to be longer than the length of my front shirt. Okay, so now this is what I have, the distance between my front length. So let me just put here front length. Okay, the distance between my front length and my back length is 3 inches. So the idea is for them to be equal at the side seam. So I'm still going to take my very curve. I'm going to curve all the way from that front length, that front curve, all the way down. So whenever you make any kind of extension like this, you remember we are going to be joining them at the side seam. So the idea is for them to be equal at the side seam. So I'm taking my very curve like so. I hope you guys can see clearly what I'm doing. So I've taken my very curve and I'm just going to connect all the way to this back length and connect to the length of the front like so. Okay, so this is what we have at the end of the day. So I'm just going to explain to you guys, if you want to cut this pattern, maybe in my next video I'm going to be making a sewing tutorial on how to cut this pattern and how to join it together. So the first thing you want to do when you want to cut, because this pattern, okay, let me cut it out. Let me just cut everything out so you guys can see. So first I'm cutting at the back neck, the back shoulder slope. I'm going over at the armhole. I'm cutting out the back because everything concerning the back is actually out. So I'm just following all of the shape like so. Cutting. Now I'm following the curve. Okay, so I'll keep that aside like so. So this is what I have for my shirt pattern, guys. Okay, so if I want to place this on my fabric to cut, remember there's no button stand for the back. It's only the front that has the button stand. So obviously the back is higher than the front at the up with 2.5. Is also longer than the front pattern with 3 inches. So this is the only pattern that is not among the back. So I'm going to be folding this up. So that means you are going to be cutting the back pattern first, okay? Because they are both drafted in one piece. So I'm just going to fold away my button stand like so. I'll just fold away my button stand and I'll place this on my fabric to cut out my back pattern on fold, okay? You cut out your back pattern on fold like so. So you're going to take away the neckline, the shoulder slope, the armhole, everything that concerns the back, and this part will be on fold. So after doing that, after cutting out your back pattern on fold like so, then now it's time for you to cut out the front. You're going to flip out your front. You're going to flip out the button stand like so, and by that time you are going to not take away everything that also concerns the back. Good. You see, if you want to use your pattern again, you can just fold it out, but if you don't want to use your pattern, you just trim it out. So I'm just going to fold everything concerning the back because we are going to be using this pattern to sew in our next tutorial. So I've taken away the back length at the top, and I'm also going to do the same at the end, okay? So I'm just going to fold around all of these parts. Every part that concerns the back, I'm going to fold them out. So this is how you cut out your pattern, guys. So you first cut out the back before you come around here to cut out the front. See, guys, so this is really simple, guys. So now, and I have my front shirt pattern. Remember, my button stand is 2 inches. Like I said, is your preference. Your button stand can be 1 inch. If you want a tiny button stand, it can be 3 inches. Depends on the boldness that you want for your button stand. So I hope you guys enjoy watching this video, and if you have any more questions, you can ask me in the comment section. I'll be glad to answer every of your questions. And please don't forget to like, to share, and subscribe to this channel. If you find this video interesting, please give it a thumbs up. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.